it's interesting to me that people would ever seek out to reduce REM sleep, because REM sleep is the sleep that most people are pursuing.
Yeah. I think the reason is that when it comes to sleep latency and the fact that Valium and THC can decrease sleep latency, the amount of time that it takes for you to fall asleep, many people like that sledgehammer-like effect of not having to sit with their thoughts right prior to sleep, the anxious racing thoughts that keep them up. Obviously, there are alternatives, cognitive behavioral therapy, short inhales, long exhales, or some form of breath work. Some people, meditation, some acupressure, both of which obviously didn't work for you, but work for some people. It's just easier for a lot of people to like chew on a gummy or pop a pill. But unfortunately, you get decreased latency, but non-REM, versus with practice and kind of, using other tactics, you can have decreased latency and still have your REM sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. So another one of the cool practices, it's not part of the sleep cycle, but we actually had a waking cycle, right? We had a morning routine that was always very important to us at CIA. And it was during the waking routine that we instigated more of the meditative practice, and where we instigated more of the intentional, what we would call seeking quiet, essentially reducing stimulation on your five senses and giving your wakeful brain a chance to optimize and index information from the night before. Because during your sleep, it's your subconscious that's doing all of the work. So then when you actually wake up, it's a period of time where you have the closest proximity to that subconscious mind. But what ends up happening is we often jump into the day. So we give up that opportunity to be connected to our subconscious mind, when in fact, it's a very unique opportunity for us to capitalize on the indexing that happened overnight, the processing that happened overnight, and bring it into the present, bring it into conscious thought. Plus, what ends up happening, at least for me, is when I take that 15 to 25 minutes to meditate in the morning, essentially, to seek that quiet, non-stimulating time, I find that there are certain thoughts that naturally present themselves as priorities for the day. Not priorities that somebody else created or priorities that pop up because they just happen to pop to mind, but actual priorities that will boil up from the subconscious.
It's very interesting that you bring this up. I actually have a podcast. I remember the title of it. It's called Why to Meditate When You Wake Up. It's with Joe DiStefano, who since changed his name to Joseph Anu, but I'll find it. I'll put it in the show notes. If you're listening, the show notes are going to be at bengreenfieldlife.com/everydayspy. bengreenfieldlife.com/everydayspy. He described how the brain is in a high degree of theta brainwave production upon waking, which is kind of like the monk meditating on a Himalayan mountaintop style of brainwaves. And that if you seize that opportunity before email, preferably before bright light, before anything that's going to shift you into more of alpha or beta brainwave production, you can have some very meaningful and deep meditation sessions. And since that podcast, I also interviewed Justin Rothlingshofer, and he describes his first 30 minutes in the sauna within about a half hour upon waking, where he's just staring at the wall, thinking, well, not thinking, but just allowing thoughts to pass through, much of which involve ideas about what he's going to do or accomplish later that day.